Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, people. You're very, very welcome. You're very welcome to your Sunday special version of the Redfellas, the Champions League Redfellas, the top four Redfellas. A round of applause for Liverpool Football Club. We have officially reached Champions League. Yes, that's right. You heard it right. This ain't a fake celebration. This is real people. We are real people doing real celebrations, being positive. My God, what a life it would be to always be sad and always be down and not have anything to look forward to in life. But we have something to look forward to, people. We have a new coach to look forward to, new formations, new ideas, some new players, new coaching staff. And of course, we have the return of the biggest club competition in the world. Isn't that what we wanted at the start of the season? And then maybe sprinkle it with a little domestic trophy. Oh, we have that as well? People, welcome. We are here to discuss in brief, just on the side note, West Ham 2, Liverpool 2. In brief, just on the side, a little bit of a spat between Salah and Klopp. We may touch upon these things, but we're here to bring positivity and therapy in your life. Evan, isn't that just the best way to live, right?
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. Hell yeah. Please, like at some point, once you've watched this stream, go on Spotify, find the UEFA Champions League anthem, put it in your ears, and just listen and dream again. Because we are back in the UEFA.
We are
Champions
back,
League.
baby.
My favorite competition. I'm gassed. I'm gassed.
We are gassed. On the plus side, Daniel Agga's in the building. This is the original Daniel Agga, the man with the tattoos, the man with the famous left foot. That is actually Daniel Agga, who's a massive fan of the show. He says on the plus side, qualification for UCO is pretty much guaranteed this season, which was the target for the season. Add to that a trophy and everything that happened last season. I think we did well. Evan, what a way to live lives, man. Be positive, smile, always look on the bright side of life. And then you do that whistle at the end. Exactly. Well, this is the way to live, right, Ev?
Yeah. You know, undoubtedly. Yeah. I just wake up every day and I just love sports so much, Grizz, especially this one, especially Liverpool, because there's only things to smile about, and there is never any pain. There's never any sorrow. There are never any tears. There is only smiles because, as we all know, being a football fan is a purely positive experience. Your weekend is never ruined at 4:30 in the morning. That definitely never happens to me ever. I can't even remember that happening, not even once. So Champions League is back. The new Champions League. Grizz, the Champions League with a bit of a facelift. You know what I mean?
And we had to be there. We had to be there. We had to be there for the inaugural new format of the Champions League.
Yeah, the inaugural, whatever the hell it is. I'm sure we'll pull it up and talk about the specifics and how it differs. We can definitely do that. But yeah, European nights again. European nights a little closer to home, not so far on the other side of the continent. All due respect to those teams. And yeah, immensely looking forward to it because life has just been sunshine and rainbows lately, as we all know.
As we all know, Cav, welcome. We've got our resident Elvis Presley Stan in the building as well. He says, big up Grizz on the panel. Perspective is a great thing, eh? Hindsight is tricky when you live in the moment, Cav.
Absolutely. Perspective, right? Looking through another person's eyes and trying to view things in a different way. That's the great thing that sport and a platform like this offers. But look, all we're doing is we're fast forwarding. Become August, right? When the new season starts, match day 1, we're all going to be full of hope, full of optimism. What can we achieve? We're in every big competition we can be in now, with no disrespect to the Europa League. The Champions League is where it's at. And we have a chance at winning them competitions because we'll start the season in them competitions. So all we're doing is fast forwarding right now, right to that date in August when we can all be filled with renewed hope and optimism. So why not start now? Why not
start now? Indeed, exactly. Look, we've had a rough month, guys. We know we've had a rough month, but what's a rough month in 10 or 9? Do you know what I mean? It is what it is. You take the rough with the smooth, and we've had smooth, we've had rough. This is a time to be happy and glorified in the last few weeks of the Jurgen Klopp era. That's the way I'm looking at it. That's the way I'm looking at it. Call me shameless. Call it poor. What do they call it these days? Toxic positivity or something. They call it. Keith, you know about these things. Is that what they call it these days? Toxic positivity or something like that, or false positivity?
Definitely false positivity. Mm-hmm. Yeah, false positivity. You could almost say that you are, in effect, hiding. You know that meme where he's got the smiley face, but behind it you're crying tears. Copium. Yes, that is copium. This is copium.
I was gonna say, I believe in hopium, not copium.
Hopium.
There's a H. There's a H at the start, Keith. None of that business, please. All right, there's a H at the start. Yeah, it's hopium. All right. Anyway, but look, Lakers 91's right. We might as well start the season now, guys. The new season. This current season's over from a footballing point of view. Let's look forward and ideas and battle. Let's draw up the battle plans for the future. I refuse to be down. I refuse to be out. I'm a fighter in real life. That's the way it's going to be. But Evan, super chat. Arsenal, Man City. Very easy super chat. Thank you very much for Sparrowhead Hawkins. What a great name.
To answer your question, Sparrowhead, we were talking about this backstage before the show. It comes down to my own laziness, and what I mean by that specifically is that if Arsenal win the Premier League, it will require me to give them props, praise them, tweet out, deserved praise to what they do and how I respect that they've done it the right way, et cetera, just sort of things like that. That will require like effort and attention and a certain level of emotional maturity from me. Whereas if Man City win the league, it's just like whatever. You know what I mean? Because the whole Premier League is so apathetic to it at this point. There are question marks about its shall we say, validity in an ongoing legal process. So yeah, in that case, I won't have to put in any effort. So Sparrowhead, it definitely comes down to my own laziness. I would prefer it if Man City did it, because then I won't have to do any soul searching, none of that emotional maturity. I'll just be able to crawl into my shell and just get cracking on the transfer stuff, because I think that's what we're all ready for at this stage.
It's a weird feeling. Do you know that? It's a weird feeling, because Yus's nailed it, Keith. He says it's a weird feeling I have now, not feeling stressed, even though it's based on failing. It's true. Like we're stress free for the last month or so. There's what's the word? Consolation. There is something, we don't need to be biting our nails and stressed and high blood pressures. Like today, I tweeted about a couple of hours ago, Arsenal must feel the same pain. They must, right?
100%. I have a lot of good, very, very good friends, close friends, people I would consider brothers.
Arsenal friends, I'm so sorry, Keitho. I'm so sorry. Big up girls in the building. He has just gifted 5 Football Carnage memberships out. Good, as you can see, is an Arsenal fan, but he's one of the nice guys. And I'm not saying it because he's just gifted 5 memberships. He's actually one of the moderators who helps us out on the Big Six. He's actually in charge of the FIFA. By the way, people, we're going live at 11 p.m. tonight. So he's doing great work behind the scenes with us at the Big Six. So big up, Uga. We're about to roast the rest of your fan base, though. So maybe just gift the memberships and then maybe put it on mute or something. Keith.
You guys, this is how close we are, right? This is how close we are. You know what I mean? Like
another great Arsenal fan, A for Arsenal. Oh, all the good ones are here. I'm so sorry. You're going to have to hear this bit.
But would you not agree? Like, not only do particularly living in London, right? We've got really close Arsenal friends, mates. In fact, on this own show, We have plenty of Arsenal fans week in, week out that are in the chat, are in the comments, that are watching, that show us love. And we love you guys for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, you know, you guys have done what we've done in the past, right? You've looked and acted like a team that's ready to win the Premier League. And I respect you guys for that, right? You know, your form in January has been amazing. But you must feel the pain. You must tweet the whole summer and say, we scored more goals. We conceded less goals. We have the best centre-back pairing in the world. We have the best holding midfielder in the world. We have the best right winger in the world. And you must say all of these things.
All of these things.
I'm
laughing like a madman, guys. Like, big up A for Arsenal. He goes, you're a sadist. Like, Grizz, I'm a sadist. I'm laughing like a madman, Caviar, because everything Keith has said, we have been saying for the last how many years? But football doesn't care. This Man City juggernaut and this whatever they are over there, and we will find out what they've been and what they are and what they weren't. We've been saying this, Cav.
Absolutely. Man City winning the Premier League is just default settings. You know, oh yeah, okay, here's what it is. That's what everyone expected at the start of the season. That's what happened at the end of the season. But unless I missed it somewhere along the lines, right? If Man City win the Premier League, then Arsenal are just going to have a preseason and start next season and continue on their merry way, right? Whereas Liverpool are going to have a trophy and a parade and a new manager, maybe with new ideas, fresh optimism. All I'm saying is the summer might be better for Liverpool fans, you know.
I love it.
Okay, there you go. That's copium and hopium combined. Cavs come out with something completely different. Hey, there will be a question at the end of the season. Who's had the better season?
Crazy.
We are in this game to win trophies, right?
That's what they told us.
But listen, that's a topic for another show on another panel, maybe, and I will bring that up. But yeah, people are saying about the parade. We don't know if there's going to be a parade. It's not going to be for the Carabao Cup anyway. If there's a parade, it's going to be for Jurgen Klopp. And look, as I said, Ev, we must, guys, there's 350 of you guys already camped in here. I know we're a little bit late. I'm so sorry we're a little bit late, but things happen. But we're here now. I would really appreciate a like. These guys would appreciate a like. Your support has been magnificent. I'm talking like the season's ended. It hasn't. Ev, we played a game of football yesterday. Probably one of the worst timings for you. Not only Liverpool and 12:30 and blah, 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 but you as an American, this is a 4:30 a.m. kickoff. This is one of those ones where even tested your resolve, right?
Yeah, living in California, you know, comes with a price, both to the pockets and if you're a Premier League fan, to your sleeping schedule. You know, this was, I believe, the last 4:30 a.m. kickoff of the Klopp era for me. The thought crossed my mind of, should I just sleep in, ignore my phone, and just watch it recorded on my DVR at my own pace.
Wow.
And you know, that doesn't qualify as not watching, y'all. Don't call me a fake fan. That qualifies as just getting a normal amount of sleep and then not going on Twitter so I can just watch the game spoiler free. But I woke up. I did. I got 4 hours of sleep. I did. And you know, do I wish I slept a little more? I don't know. A conversation for another time. Doesn't really fit in with the hopium theme of the show. But yeah, there was a bit of apprehension there, Grizz. The result. Well, the result is, as I suppose, what we will come to talk about.
Mhm.
But going into it, I'll just start with what I thought of the lineup, Grizz.
Whoa, hey, look at that. Here's one I prepared.
Right
earlier.
on cue. You know what I mean? There we go.
That's what I'm talking about. This is the famous front three telepathy. This isn't the current 5 lack of telepathy. That was old school telepathy, if I may say so.
Yeah. I was okay with this lineup, you know. And I think it's a lineup that maybe the rest of the current panel would agree with as well. You know, Cav in recent weeks has advocated for a rotational bench role for Mohamed Salah until he's back in form, and this is
so
sort of what we.
So he's the instigator, but we're gonna come on to that. Okay.
Well, yeah, we will, but I just think that this is something that most of us could get behind because it represents enough rotation where players who have had big moments and more positive performances in a month of complete and utter adversity have earned their starts. You know, Cody Gakpo starts. Luis Diaz has a certain edge to his game that shines even on bad days, so he gets his game. Ryan Gravenberch, well worthy of his start after his heroics against Fulham. And also Jarell Quansah coming in for Konate, who through both injury and form has struggled in recent weeks. It was also nice to see Alexis McAllister playing in a further role. You know, nice to see him crashing the box more often, and that is only possible when we have a holding midfielder playing in that position instead of him. In this case, it was Wataru Endo, and of course Harvey Elliott coming in for Mohamed Salah. So in a game that was more or less a dead rubber, I was okay with this lineup. You know, you can't say guys like Elliott, Gravenberch, Gakpo, based upon whether that's Elliott's season-long impact off the bench, that's been largely positive, whether that's Gakpo and Gravenberch sort of playing their way back into relevancy in recent weeks. It was nice to see this base level of rotation. I really didn't have any issues with the team. I was I was a bit apprehensive in terms just looking at the West Ham 11 Grizz. I see a lot of weapons there that can hurt Liverpool and have hurt Liverpool in the past. Obviously, Mikel Antonio can be a handful in transition for any Premier League center back. Jared Bowen, a quality player who definitely should be playing for a top 6 team in the Premier League, in my opinion. Paqueta is a bit off the boil, but Kudus, of course, a player desired by much of the Liverpool fan base as well. West Ham are an interesting team. I have no idea what to make of them. I look up and down their lineup and I see a team that perhaps based on individual talent could be where Aston Villa are if they had Unai Emery in charge, but that's not their brand of football. They have David Moyes, no disrespect to him. So yeah, apprehensive because West Ham, no matter which version of it in the past 4 or 5 years, has always had weapons that can hurt teams in the top 4, top 6. And that is what happened in the match.
Keith, obviously the big decision, the big call, a couple of big calls, I guess, maybe. And obviously we'll get on to the controversial part. But as a lineup and as a selection, obviously the big one was the dropping. And I think it's fair to say, guys, I think it's the first time we can safely say Nunes and Salah were dropped, not rotated. Is that a fair assessment?
Correct, 100%. Salah and Nunes were definitely dropped. And the debate rages on whether a player like Salah deserves to be dropped. But as a football team, nothing is more important than Liverpool Football Club at the end of the day. No individual is worth more, no matter what your legacy is. In the current state of play, nothing matters more than Liverpool Football Club. So when I look at this 11 that went out and started the match, I looked at players that, despite what has been a rocky road over the past few months, really, it's been touch and go, even if we are in particular bad form. I'm looking at a number of these players who I actually think, you know what, they deserve to start. And I'm specifically looking at Harvey Elliott. I think he deserves to start. I think he's been brilliant for Liverpool, despite, he's been one of the rare shining lights. And I think it just allows Cody Gakpo, Luis Diaz to be a little bit more fluid across the front three when Darwin Núñez and Mo Salah aren't playing. Now, I've had this debate with a lot of people, and a lot of people tell me, well, Mo Salah's had his injury. This is the first time he's had a major injury. We should feel sorry for him a little bit. It's not his fault, etc., etc. And I can understand all those arguments. But what I can't understand is that he's been fit for, 2 months now. He's quite easily our highest paid player. Let me get that. He has a record contract at Liverpool Football Club. Your star man, highest paid player, to come out and put the type of performances he's put on in the last few games, irrespective of the fact that Nunes should have finished some of the passes that he's put on a play, he's not taking his man on. His touches are really, really low. He's offering nothing in the press. He's offering nothing in defensive transition. He is a frustrated figure, completely and woefully out of form. And now, at this moment in time, it's not the right stage of the season to try and play him back into form. Maybe if this was November or December, October, those kind of times, you could probably allow for Klopp to say, do you know what? He should play him. Let him play himself back into form. But we're desperate for points. We're desperate for some sort of revival. And if you're going to be dropping the performances he's been dropping, then he deserves to be dropped. So I have no problem with it. I can understand what other people suggest, that your best player should be always playing at all times. But if your best player is not performing, given that he has, by the way, some of the licenses that no other forward has, ideally, he is pretty much allowed to not really track back. He's effectively allowed to be a striker. When he's not offering what he should be offering, he offers not a lot else. So if he's not offering a lot else, then as far as I'm concerned, he needs to play himself back. He needs to earn his right back into the squad. So I didn't see a problem with it at all. And it's something that I would have called for after the Everton game.
Ooh, deep breath. Keith has gone straight in. And obviously, when you have, when you do go straight in, there will be repercussions from the chat, because football is about opinions and football is about a variety of people. People are saying absolutely crazy call to drop him. Let's go through some of the comments and reactions to Keith's, fair to say, rant or frustrated rant. Not rant, really. Just
you call it frustrated rant, absolutely.
Airing of opinion, I call it. BKO says Klopp lost the plot. He put Salah on the bench, who carried Liverpool for years now. Klopp gave him the chance to play himself back into form, but it's been months now. Clearly hasn't worked. We're gonna get on to the. I'm not gonna concentrate on the altercation. I'm just gonna read the comments about the selection. This game was made for Salah. There's been a huge amount of disrespect shown by some LFC fans. I think he means it's disgusting. Fahim, who was the star of the call-in show last night, people, if you haven't checked out the call-in show, you need to go and check it out. He says, agreed with Keith. Salah was not getting the goals to mask his performances anymore. His shooting has been woeful lately. Look, there's going to be different opinions. We're going to hear ours and we're going to give ours. There's no right and wrong. There's balance and there's rationality, and you try to give it logic, and that's all you can do. You put forward your case, and it's up to the people who they want to, or what opinion they want to base or form. Buddy Gunner, got a few Gunners in the building today. He said, do you think Klopp saying he's leaving affected them? We're going to discuss that as well, Buddy Gunner. That's going to be one of the talking points as we go on. But Cav, Keith's had his say on Salah. I know you've had your say on Salah, so I'm not going to ask you to repeat all that. But the rest of the lineup, Endo comes back in. Gerald Kwanzaa, as I said, as we've said, Kwanzaa is a rotation for Konate, even though Konate has probably been as bad as anyone in the last few weeks. Like, I can't believe it. Like, Konate is my guy. And so if people believe in fans have agendas, or certain people on YouTube or whatever have an agenda and stick to it, well, here's me saying Ibu is my guy. I love Ibu to death. He's been atrocious and deserved to be dropped. So it's not an agenda. It's just I love Ibu, but I can call a spade a spade. But Cav, Kwanzaa comes back in. Endo comes back in. Gravenberch is the interesting one. I want you to maybe start off talking by Gravenberch. Surprised that he didn't start the derby after performing fairly well and getting the goal, or the big guns maybe were right to be rolled out and then rolled back out after that performance?
Yeah, do you know what? I'll just start off by saying I think Klopp's done well this season by rotating the squad and keeping it fresh. Some rotations obviously been forced through injuries, but I'm on record of saying if we win anything this season, it will be down to Klopp's management, in-game tactical tweaks, and then between games keeping the squad fresh and what have you. But that's kind of flipped on its head in the past couple of months. I don't think the team selections have been great. And I'm not sure if I said it on this show, but I said it just prior to the international break, I think February sort of time. And I said, when we were in good form and we were without Salah because of his injury, and we were playing Elliott up there, Szoboszlai was out as well. And I remember Bobby Clark was getting some minutes as well. And it was a bit of a rotated side, some youngsters in there, but we were playing well. And obviously Kelleher's in there as well instead of Alisson. And I said, at this point, we're fighting for the league. And I said, the only way I'll be disappointed at the end of the season won't be because we lost the league, because you can lose the league to Man City and you can certainly lose it to Arsenal this season. They're there on credit, right? But on merit, sorry, not credit. What I don't want to see is select players based on their names or based on what they've done before. I want to see us select the player based on form, and if they're in a good moment, keep them in the side regardless of what's happening. You know, they've earned the right to be selected based on their performances, and I don't think we did that. You know, and Gravenberch had good games and he drops out the team. Kelleher did absolutely nothing wrong at all, really. And he gets rotated by Alisson. Not to say Alisson's done poorly since, although he made an error in today's game, which probably contributed towards a goal. He gets dropped out. Elliott's playing remarkably well. He gets dropped out, and Kwanzaa is the final one that I thought has always stepped up and done well, bar a mistake against Palace, and he's done well, and he gets dropped out. And I fully get you still need to rotate, which is justified as to why some of these guys may not start. But I think it just sent the wrong message across the squad. You know, if you're the likes of Elliott and Kwanzaa and Kelleher, you're sitting there thinking, when the team sheet comes out, you're going, what? Like, what does all this hard work and performance really mean then? Where does it get me if I'm just going to be dropped out just like that? I've been doing it at the crunch point of the season as well. So I thought it was a bad message. And look, Klopp's announcement to leave came, I think in November time, was it, around then? And he made it very clear that he didn't want to make this about him. He said, don't chant my name. This isn't about me. I want to continue this season. And I think he should have continued that message across the players as well. It's not about you as an individual. It's about the team. And if you are playing well and aiding the team, you deserve to stay. So I've not liked the way that we've selected our teams from that point onwards. And I don't think I think players have been selected to get on back into form, which is a terrible thing to do at this point in the season because you can't afford that. And I remember Conroy and I were having the chat about it and we were talking about Salah. And I said, no doubt his legacy. We're not questioning that. We're just questioning Salah right now. And he might be out of form, and he is out of form. He's certainly below his normal level. But at this point in the season, you can't afford for that form to continue for 6-7 games because that's the league gone. So if Elliott's playing better right now, stick him in the team. And bringing it to today, yesterday's game, that's just what I was pleased to see with the lineup. It was like fair play. Elliott's played well, deserves to be in there. Gakpo's had a resurgence of form, deserves to be in there. Diaz has been the shining light for us, deserves to be there. Gravenberch played well, you know, prior to the derby. And
Jones and Szoboszlai have been, let's call it, we have praised Curtis Jones to the moon and back this season. And up until his injury, rightfully so.
Yeah.
But he's been atrocious since he's come back. Yeah. Along with Szoboszlai, again, one of my guys, but he's been atrocious since he's come back.
Yeah. And I know we've tried to be smart. Look, it's the Merseyside derby it's fierce, it's aggressive. I didn't quite expect the Everton lineup. I thought Gomez might have been there, thought Onana might have been there. He might have selected it based on, you know, his so-called first team. He might have been wary of height, aerial dominance, you know, set pieces and this and that. But I personally just think every single game week you select the players based on form, because if you're in form, you'll play the best football and you give yourself the best chance of winning. And I don't think we've done that well enough. So I was just pleased. I was just pleased to see some of the names that deserve a chance to be in this lineup in yesterday's game.
After the anger, because that was my emotion. Did we have a Redfellas for the Merseyside derby? Did we just do a post match? I don't think we've spoken, have we? No, because it was midweek, right? So we done a post match, and there was a few choice words from me, Evan. Even though the community have affectionately called me the community man, named me the community man, I was not using community language. But I think I had every right not to use community language. I was swearing a lot, to be honest with you. And I wanted to see a bit of a change in terms of energy and desire and hunger There was none shown in the Merseyside derby. That was absolutely the final nail in the coffin of the Premier League. So this was a game where I wanted to, like Cav says, see a few fresh faces, some that are fighting for their futures, like Gravenberch, Elliott, Gakpo, maybe to a certain degree, Endo to a certain degree. And I thought, considering West Ham had their strongest lineup, pretty much barring a centre back or two, and I think they've got probably the best three behind the one outside the top three in Jared Bowen, Paqueta, and Kudos. I thought it was a far better start and an opening than our previous games. We didn't concede in the opening 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was unremarkable going forward. But I thought we were controlling things. I thought there was still some tactical issues long-standing that I've noticed over the past 12 to 24 months, just in terms of build-up. I think refreshing our build-up is something that can really only happen under a new manager. So I guess that's what I'm looking forward to most in that regard. So, but disagreements with our tactical ethos aside, I thought we were doing our own plan well, however flawed. We didn't look like we were immediately under pressure. We were moving the ball around with a little more conviction. The change, just in terms of rotation, if nothing else, Gravenberch and Elliott received the ball in different ways than the players they went in to replace. So that allowed for some greater variance in terms of patterns and how we were trying to play between their very compact lines. It was controlled. That's what I would say. It was unremarkable, still not good enough, but it was a improvement over the very low bar that we've set for opening periods in games, not just this season, but last season. So I guess you applaud that. I guess you call that an improvement. But then again, this West Ham team plays you one way, and that doesn't really change. They would play against Liverpool like that if we were leading the league by 20 points, and they would play against Liverpool like that if we were in sixth. So it's difficult to lavish so much praise, but at the same time, you have to be objective and say that is an improvement over the opening periods of recent spells. I really struggle to lavish too much praise because, like I said, the build-up is just so it's not distinguishable. I would say I think the Liverpool teams of yesteryear under Klopp that were so brilliant had much more effective and recognizable patterns of play in the first phase, without being Guardiola-esque. So that's still what I was having an issue with, and what kind of makes me roll my eyes at times. But again, I'm not going to sit here and say it was as bad as Everton or as bad as Palace. Both of those were horrible starts in their own way. So yeah, what I saw in the first opening period from Liverpool didn't make me think we were going to lose that game, if nothing else.
And then, Keith, what happens is what normally happens. I mean, that's as far as we can go with the positivity, I think, today. A bit of back to realism. I think a dose of realism probably for the rest of the show. People are probably thinking, really? Are these guys going to really eulogize over that and the season and etc., etc.? Keith, someone taught me a word yesterday. I hope you guys can help me out here. Micro something. Micro. So what I asked was that if you had an example or put the whole season into a nutshell, that opening half, like controlled possession, comfortable, missing chances, Diaz hits the post, and then West Ham get a set piece or cross, was it? No, was it a cross or a set piece? Oh, it was a cross, right? Is it a set piece or cross?
Set piece. It came from a corner.
Either way, first chance, first kill. If you could And someone said that's a microcosm.
Microcosm, yeah.
The goat's in the building, and the goat has helped me out. That was a microcosm of our season, that opening half, because we're going to skip incidents. We're going to go on to that goal. Quickly taken corner was ours. We were the ones that trademarked that. Yet here we are falling for the same shit again and again and again and again. Switching off completely. Keith, my team, Liverpool, was so entertaining, good to watch, and very alert. And I used to love it. We were streetwise. We were sharp. We knew what to do, how to do, when to do. When did we become so brain dead, Keith?
I think it's just been a product of our season, to be honest. That switching off, I think, is what we switch off in key moments of the games, and for the love of God, I don't understand why. And if you want to talk about a microcosm, I wouldn't even say it was the goal itself. I would say it was how they got that corner in the first place. I don't understand what is going through everybody's head to be so far apart when Jarrell Konza has the ball, to the point where there's nobody in the middle. Trent is, and Virgil cusses him out, but Trent is so far out wide. Clearly, West Ham are pressing us high up the pitch because they want to win the ball back as quickly as possible. And there's so many gaps that Konza effectively has no one to pass to. He reacts. The second part of it is Endo and his ability to take a touch, let me say, a less than savory touch, which gives the ball straight. Instead of just kicking it into row Z, he has this ability sometimes to take that first touch, and that first touch is abysmal, right? And it puts the entire team under pressure yet again. A product of our own downfall. I don't understand why. What? It's almost like, are Liverpool players sadists? Do they enjoy being put under this type of pressure? Is it some kind of thrill for them to do this to themselves? Because it just makes no sense. We were not really being troubled by West Ham in that first half. We controlled the game. We played methodically. We didn't drop to the occasion. And yet we gave away a corner for no reason. And, with Slot coming in, if I was the manager, you know what the first thing that I would be doing? I'll be getting Trent and I will be getting Robertson on crosses, and all I will be doing all day long is crossing that ball from corner kicks, and until somebody decides to use their damn head to head of the ball and stop turning their back to the ball all the time. How many times have we conceded goals from corners and set pieces this season? By the way, a lot.
Can someone tell me in the chat how tall Jared Bowen actually is?
Well, he's definitely not taller than Ryan Gravenberch. And Ryan Gravenberch decides to turn his back, to jump with his back turned away. Why? Just head the goddamn ball. Nobody in this team other than Virgil van Dijk seems to know how to head the ball or go and win a header. This is what fascinates, but Jared Bowen is the one that decides that he's going to win the header. We've seen it this season with Darwin Núñez, by the way, where he
apparently
loses
was Gakpo. Apparently it was Gakpo.
It's Gakpo. He's another one.
Another 6-footer.
Yeah. Remember when we were like, at the start of the season, I always remember this chat. We were like, yeah, we got some tall guys now. We got some specimens in this team right now. We're going to be a bit more physical, etc. It's the complete opposite. I have more faith in Diogo Jota winning a header than I do any of our 6-foot+ players other than Virgil van Dijk. So it was just a product of our lackadaisical way of playing football that has seeped into the mindset. Evan touches on it in terms of patterns of play. I would argue that the build-up from the back at this moment in time when the team is pressing us is all over the place, because you've got a central midfielder in Endo who can't quite keep the ball at his feet. He's not very controlled in possession. He gets counter-pressed like crazy, so nobody trusts him with the ball. And we almost have to lob it up half the time. And this always happens, by the way, when teams are pressing us. When teams are not pressing us, we look good, right? We progress the ball, teams sit it deep, blah, blah, blah. But when teams start to say, do you know what, actually, we're going to have a go at you. Sheffield United did it to us. They had a go at us, and they were being successful at Anfield in the counter press. So that is, for me, but is one of the key areas that Slot is going to have to come in and deal with immediately. It's got to be how we deal with possession in our own half when the team is ready and willing to counter press us. because that goal from where it came from has been happening all season. Like, how many goals you can go back to and watch the same type of goal or the same incident that leads to the set piece that leads to the goal? It's been a product of our season. And you know, my final bit is big up Jared Bowen, man. I think he's an absolutely amazing football player. I doubt we'd ever be in for him, but the guy he's got
2 years too late.
2 years too late. He's got both feet. He scores headers. He runs. He's a brilliant footballer. And of course, he's the one that scores once again. And by the way, where were Jared Bowen, Paqueta, and all these other men when City and Arsenal had to play them, eh? Why do we always have to play the full strength squad of these?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't care anymore about those narratives. Fuck it. I was asking what I'm going to ask in the poll today. Because I'm so tech savvy these days, I know how to do a poll. So I'm just showing off. In percentages, Planner Boy sends in a super chat. This is in percentage. Whose fault this season the way it went? How would you rate it between Klopp and versus all players? Anyways, great panel, fellas. So I'm going to ask, who's to blame? Jurgen Klopp or the players? That's going to be the simple poll. And we have Pimp in Distress, our very own PID. He says, I recommend listeners to follow Soccer God, aka Evan, over there. Resident Nerd, for such refreshing, balanced, proper football IQ analysis. Quite the praise. Looks like you sent him a private super chat, but it is what it is. The game's the game.
Grizz.
Heather.
Can I have a go at that, answering that super chat?
Yes.
I have some thoughts. Right? The answer is everybody. The answer is the system, right? Let me explain. Intensity is our identity, yeah? And no team, their performances in every aspect hinges on the momentum that they have more than Liverpool, right? So when Liverpool have the wind in their sails, they feel good, they're winning games, they have momentum, they battle for everything. That first goal that you described, Keith, that doesn't happen when Liverpool are confident, right? And Liverpool do that to the opposition when they're confident because they feel they can win every 50-50 duel. They take risks, they battle, they do everything right, okay? And I was looking for ways in which I could try and talk about our build-up play or lack of, right? And our lethargicness and our lack of mentality and strength. And the answer came by watching Trent on the overlap, right? And I'm never going to say this word for word, but I recommend you go and watch it if you haven't, because he talks about his inverted position and he talks about what's asked of him and he talks about his influence on the build-up, right? And he talks about that Klopp asked them, their fundamentals is to press high up the pitch, win the ball back high up the pitch, and in doing so, you'll win the ball back when the opposition are out of shape, body shape's wrong, players out of position, and you can go capitalize on that, right? And the forwards with their creativity and their fluidity can go and exploit that space. What happens if you have the ball and you ain't able to win the ball up the pitch because your press is off and so on and so on? And he said, we're told to just try things. We're told to try a risky pass. We're told to try and play, because if we lose the ball, we can then go and press and get back to tactic one, which is high press and win the ball back up early and create the panic. The trouble has been this season for me is that we have so many new players in the midfield and we've had such, bad form and still a lack of understanding in the forwards in pressing and recognizing triggers to press and recognizing how to press as a team, right? Which is understandable with this, Klopp 2.0 season one, that they've not been able to do that press. They've missed the first tactic. They've not got that right. What has now happened is they've lost confidence to try and play. They've lost confidence because of bad form and bad results to try them passes, try them killer passes and risk losing the ball. And I think what they've forgot, or at least what they're not confident enough to try, is it's okay to lose the ball because we're trained to win it back again early. And then we go back to tactic one. We are not trained to methodically build up from the back and play intricate passes. And you sit there and you sit there. And once it goes to player A, it goes to player B. That's not our tactic. That's not how we're trained. That's how Man City are trained. That's how Arsenal are trained. That's how other sides are trained. It's not how Liverpool are trained. It is all about trying things and then getting to a point where you can be intense and you can build momentum. And when them things work for you, you just play. You know what it's like as a footballer when you're confident, you just try things. And that's what it hinges on. And I think this is what a lot of fans are probably looking forward to with the new manager is we don't want a side that solely hinges on intensity and solely hinges on momentum, because we've seen time and time again in his Klopp's tenure is what happens when that momentum's not there, because you're always going to have a bad spell in the season, right? And what I think a lot of fans are looking forward to seeing from the new manager is actually a bit more structure in the way we build up, a bit less fluidity, a bit less creative freedom, a bit less depending on what play you've got on the pitch gives you different things, an actual instruction in the build up, something extra to fall back to be able to still create even when your plan A and your plan B doesn't work. And I just think we've entered a period at the worst time of the season where bad form from individuals has led to bad form from the team, because we've not been able to generate any kind of momentum. So after the Merseyside derby, I thought we were out the title race, and I was able to relax in these games because West Ham being the first one, because I'm like, we're not going to generate intensity now. We're not going to create momentum now. So it will fall down to the ability of the players. And that's why I quite like seeing Elliot in there, because I'm like, I know he's got a buzz. I know he wants to knit things together. I like seeing Diaz in there because I know that his raw, natural play style is to get the ball and just run and make things happen. It's off the cuff. And that's what's going to win you games at this point in the season, because the intensity is not going to be there. And just my final point on it, right? And it ties in. Liverpool last season had got struck by so many injuries. And at game by game week, it felt like a player was dropping out the day of the match or the day before the match. And it felt like we were constantly on the back foot going into games. And it felt like a case of we always had an excuse if we drop points in a game, because we've had to make shift. We've got so many games going on. We've got injuries. There's always an excuse, right? And last season happened and it was terrible and we all had a poor time. We get a new midfield this season and new players, but it's been a season which we've called transition, right? And what happens in a transition is you create an environment for the squad that makes everybody feel like a family. You bed people in. If they have a poor performance, it's okay. Don't worry. You're still finding your feet. You will start to play well and it will come, right? And if you don't play well, which is largely what's happened this season, somebody else will. How many games have we seen substitutes make the impact? Because they are coming on, right, when teams are tired and they're able to exploit the opposition, right? Elliot's been fantastic at it because he's a great student of the game and he watches what happens in front of him. But what we need to do next, we have to do next season, right, is give Slot, if he's going to be our new manager, which looks like he is, a chance for him to come in and give him time to develop his style, get that across to the players. But we have to create an environment again where the team has an elite mentality, where it is not acceptable to drop a stinker 3-4 games in a row. The players, they should be together. There should be a harmony. They should be supporting one another, but they should also pull each other up. And we as fans, I think next season, Szoboszlai, McAllister, Endo, Gravenberch, Nunes, all of these players that are relatively new to the squad will not be new anymore. So there is now an expectation for you to perform at the highest level, right? And I think we will move from a transition team and a nice place to be, Vibes FC, to elite mentality. And just my very, very final point, because I always want to bring it back to this guy. We have gone through this before with Jurgen Klopp, right? And I knew the minute Sadio Mane left, we lost a hell of a lot more than just a good player. We lost the man that would do all the fighting when your team was playing poor. He would run back, win the ball, run back up the pitch. He would fight everybody. He would argue with his teammates. He would get you a goal. He would do everything. And we've not quite got that player. He was a leader by his fight. And I think that's the one thing we could have done with this season is a player like that. And we're going to talk about a man later on in the show in Mo Salah, where I think a lot of people are disappointed with him because that's what we wanted. We did the goals, if they're not going to come okay, the performances, if they're not going to come okay, but be the leader in our team, be the Sadio Mane, that he was when the team performances were poor. Be the guy that helped us and dragged us through that work rate and desire. And we didn't get that. So I think the answer to the question is the system. But luckily for us, next season, we have a great squad and we're going to get a new style and a change. So hopefully it'll be more positive.
Evan, AK Soccer God, is about to share some pearls of wisdom. Before he goes into it, guys, there's over 520 of you guys in here. Smash the like button. That was Cav giving his opinion on the issues with the structure. And Evan, before you go, I wanted to go back to what you initially said and spoke about in terms of it was almost unrecognizable. We are not in the tenure under Klopp, 9 years or whatever. We have never been this slow, methodical build-up team, and it almost looked unnatural to us. And as a fan base, we were taken back. Like, what is this? Alisson having the most touches, a la Ederson or the Brighton keeper. Our centre backs having no pressing, plenty of time on the ball, exchanging passes for the sake of passes. As I said, it just didn't feel like Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. But please, the platform is yours.
Yeah, I bemoaned our first phase play. I've bemoaned it plenty of times in the last 2 seasons. And I tried to time sharing this as Cav was touching upon it, just the lack of patience and build up and how we're not quite on Arsenal and City's level in terms of that. This is from the Opta Analyst site, which is a fantastic resource. I recommend people use it. It's just team sequence styles. On the y-axis, you have direct speed in terms of meters per second, and then the x-axis is passes per sequence. Teams in the top left are extremely fast, extremely direct, and Man City in the bottom right there are slow and intricate. Liverpool, kind of in no man's land. Yes, top 6 in terms of passes per sequence, so that's good, but also far more direct than teams like Fulham and Newcastle, Villa, Wolves, Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs, Brighton, Man City. I think if you have direct threats, then it's not a bad idea to be direct, more direct than some of these other teams that don't have that. But this style is really only vindicated if you bury your chances that way. And Liverpool have not buried their chances. It's been a theme for the last month and a half. So I would expect this to change under Arne Slot. Like, there's definitely some similarities in terms of pressing and high turnovers and some things like that. But I think a change to his 4-2-3-1 shape could bring about Liverpool ending up more in the slow and intricate category as opposed to some hybrid between that and being a fast and direct team. Arsenal and City can be fast and direct teams, but only after they've advanced the ball a certain ways up the pitch. Then it's time to be fast and direct when you have a team under siege. So yeah, I just wanted to provide this visual while Cav was talking about it, as well as to just sort of provide some sort of statistical visual to what our grievance is. Leighton asks here, do I think it's a personnel issue? Yes, and I've tweeted this recently. It's not a crime for Trent to go long. If you can do it and you have Nunez and you have Salah, you have Diaz, you have these hyper athletic profiles out there, yes, go long. Do the unexpected. Super chat from Yo, what's good? Same issue all season. Inability to control game state and narrative, keyword if we have the lead. Distance between the players in midfield is why buildup is so bad. Yes, people have long since pointed out, why is this player here, why is this player there, why can we not give the ball to Wataru Endo centrally, why is Trent inverting when he does? It's just not recognizable, and it doesn't allow Liverpool to have the wind in their sails as quickly as it needs to be. Like, we are an emotional team. We are a team that plays off of energy and intensity, and I don't think our buildup has always catered to that. I think Trent inverting was an experiment that worked for a while. Then Trent goes out of the team, then he comes back in, and it's really hard because you want to have distinguishable, recognizable patterns of play, Grizz. So it's a tough question to ask. I do think some of it is personnel. I think multiple things are true here. I don't think Liverpool have the 6 that they need to do this. And this is not a Wataru Endo hate session, because obviously having a 6 that is an elite duelist and elite under pressure on the ball, that is such a rare unicorn profile. In my opinion, there's 3 players in the world that do it to an elite level, and we don't have any of them. So there you go. Some of it is tactics based. Obviously, you can get away having slow, intricate. I mean, Brighton's place on that graph showed it quite clearly. You don't need the players to play that certain style, to be slow and intricate and thoughtful and build up. So I would like to see something different there, Grizz. But at the very least, even when things weren't quite clicking for Liverpool a few years ago, it was recognizable. You know what I mean? Trent was constantly in a certain position in the final third. Salah constantly in a certain position in the final third. We've struggled to stamp our identity on games. It's felt like games have passed us by, Grizz. I don't know. That's sort of how I felt. It's almost an identity crisis in the last month or so.
I absolutely agree with the identity crisis, and I've noticed it myself as well. I don't really go much deep on structure and tactics too much, just because I'm not good at it. But sometimes I do reflect and have a think myself as well, and I think I absolutely agree that it's a collection of things, but I think personnel does play a part, in my opinion. And especially when the personnel are new, like Cav said, have just walked through the door. And we knew our midfield and our strikers were even our defenders, our fullbacks, because Robertson and Trent, we knew our team every week. We knew the trigger presses. We knew how we're going to attack, our patterns of attacks. If you go and look at the goals our front 3 scored, you'd see so many goals, basically the same goals every week. And that was because of rhythm, because continuity, knowing each other's moves, personnel, familiarity. What I find slightly bemusing, and this is obviously a deep topic now, and we're going to get into probably during the summer, is because if Jurgen Klopp knew that he's leaving this team, in terms of he's not going to be here for the future, but yet he would, and I think some may say he was forced to change the midfield as it looks and as it appears. Because remember last season, we still tried to play the Jurgen Klopp way, but with no legs. Do you remember how many times we spoke? We're trying to play the same way that we have for the last 6-7 years, but Fabinho can't run, Henderson, Milner, Gini before that, Mane, all these guys couldn't run anymore to the same levels and intensity. And then we changed the personnel, and it's confused me. I'm not going to lie, guys, and it's so great that you used to have brought it up. It did confuse me because there's absolutely a change in style this season, a change in approach. It's not intensity is identity. I mean, I get it. We still try to play with intensity, like I was going to come to the second half of that irrelevant game now, right? Because for the first 20 minutes, we played with intensity and we created the most chances, and we actually scored 2 goals as a result of it. But this season has been a bemusing. Like, why did we change style at the same time changing so many of the personnel, which won't know the way we're playing and which won't know what is being asked of us, of Pep Linders and Jurgen Klopp? So, I mean, I don't know if you guys have anything to add or subtract from that, but that is a bit strange because it's a definitive change in style.
Look, I agree it's a definitive change in style, but I would argue that what we're complaining about is how we progress the ball out of our own area. When we're in the opposition's half, Liverpool have created probably the most amount of chances this season of any Premier League team. The creativity.
Have you got any stats on that? Where are we in terms of chance created?
I'm pretty sure XG wise, creating of XG wise, I think Liverpool are at the top.
Okay.
Yeah, Liverpool's statistically, Liverpool's story of the season is bury your chances in your top of the league. We can, and I'm just going to say this real quick, Keith, and then you can hop right back in. we can sit here and talk about tactical deficiencies and awkward profiles, and maybe Liverpool's 6 isn't good enough, and why are we conceding this type of goal? All of the things that we've talked about in the last 15 or so minutes, totally valid and have contributed to this. Well, it's bigger than a blip now, but this putrid run of form, using that word again. But that being said, if Liverpool had even performed something close to their XG, forget outperforming it, if Liverpool had even performed something close to their XG in the last month and a half, 2 months, they'd be top of the table by 2 points. I check it every day. I shouldn't because it's bad for my mental health, but I do. You know, that it comes down to it. Despite all these flaws, despite all these injuries, despite identity issues, crisis issues, any type of tactical or mental or whatever issue you can come up with, if Liverpool had buried anywhere between 70 to 75% of the chances they should have buried, according to almost any XG model you look at in the last month, they'd still be in the title race. Maybe looking over their shoulder at Man City, hoping they need to drop a point, but they'd certainly have a point or two more than Arsenal. And that is, I think, what frustrates me. As I try to emotionally let the season go and try to convince myself that it was never in the cards, it very easily could have been in the cards, issues and injuries aside.
And I think that's where a lot of the frustration of the fan base goes to. But I wanted, because I think this is a really interesting topic, and I want to go back to it in terms of like the profiles, right? So, and it was just so funny because I remember many times on the show, the debate in terms of the profile of the players and how frustrating it was that we had players like Jordan Henderson, we had players like Fabinho, and we had players like Gini Wijnaldum, and we were just there like, you know, play that pass, be a little bit more, brave with the ball, like cut passing lanes. When you get the ball, why are you always going sideways? Why are you always going backwards? Why are we always protecting the ball? Because the Premier League is unrelenting, right? Teams press, whether they are Manchester City or whether they are Sheffield United. When the game's at 0-0, they will fancy themselves to get that ball and win it back as quickly as possible to score a goal. So when you look at that map that Evan put together and you see the majority of the Premier League teams in the top left-hand side, that is the Premier League in a nutshell. That's why Klopp's been so successful, because he's played the Premier League at his own game. Direct, fast, get the ball up as quickly as possible, score your goals, win trophies, right? We are almost, I always find it ironic, but it's almost like we are with better players. We play a style of football at times where it's very much a case of go direct. We are one of the most direct top teams I've ever seen ever, right? Some of the long balls we play, you could almost accustom it to someone like
when we're at our best. When we're at our best.
Yeah, when we're at our best. What I see about the profile of the midfielders this season, and where I think we've gotten caught on out more than one occasion, is okay. So McAllister, very good on the ball, too brave, right? McAllister, there's so many times where I look at when he gets that ball where I'm just like, McAllister, go left, go right. Yeah, let's build it up slowly, right? We're in a bit of a pressure situation. Let's go. McAllister will try and do a Cruyff turn and play a pass straight to Nunes. It gets intercepted. We get counter-attacked. He tries to be too clever for a midfielder who is more of an advanced player. He tries to be a bit too clever in deep situations. Ryan Gravenberch loves when a ball's passed to him to let the ball run, right? Use his body to let the ball run so that he can progress the ball without touching it. Again, when it works, absolutely amazing. But what happens more times than not, especially in the early times of his career, is that will get snuffed out. Again, when that gets snuffed out, particularly in deep areas, we get counted on. Szoboszlai, again, he's not a midfielder, in my opinion, and I think he's been miscast, to be honest, in playing a position that he's not comfortable with. Like, yes, we could see like his dynamism and the way he shoots the ball and stuff like that is very reminiscent of Steven Gerrard. But you know what Steven Gerrard was very good at? When Steven Gerrard picked that ball up from deep, he played the right pass, and it was either a pass sideways or it was a long searching pass a la Trent Alexander-Arnold. Szoboszlai doesn't have that in his locker. And Wataru Endo, for all the good he's done, when he's good. So, for example, I'll go straight into the goal, right? So before the goal, there was a pattern of play where Wataru, for the first time, we actually face it to Wataru Endo, and he plays a first-time pass through the middle, right? He gets the ball, looks up, plays the first-time pass, and all of a sudden we're in West Ham's box. Ball comes back, blah, 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 chance comes, ball comes back again. Van Dijk gets the ball. First thing he does is plays the first-time pass through the middle, right? So effectively being a little bit more aggressive and trusting what happens in there. But more times than not with Endo as well, is Endo, when he gets the ball and he's under pressure, he's more likely going to lose it because he panics, right? Ball comes to him. His first touch usually isn't great. He's not the greatest in terms of keeping like a metronome, keeping the ball ticking over. He too really is looking for a forward pass to try and break the lines from time to time as well. And so when he gets the ball, he's not good at protecting the ball. So a lot of the times the team feel uncomfortable in playing it to him, because what happens is he loses the ball and gets countered. What that summary all of it is that we never really replace a metronome style midfielder, a midfielder that is not an attacking midfielder, a midfielder that has that is not afraid to keep it ticking over and moving over, and a midfielder who can't really protect the ball when he's under pressure. Right? We didn't replace Jordan Henderson and Gini Wijnaldum. It's as simple as that. We moaned about them, we complained about them, we said they were too safe, but actually what they were doing was they were allowing us to progress a lot more and kept us from getting counter-attacked and counter-pressed into a situation where by the time the opposition's won the ball, Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold are already here, and all of a sudden we're in 2v3, 2v2 situations where the opposition are attacking us at length.
This is a great point. This is a great point, Keith, because these matchups, I think it's great because we want Robertson and Trent to be doing their final third thing. These guys are the assist leaders for a reason. That this is how you unlock teams. You hold width in wide areas in the final third. And when you talk about McAllister and Endo and their actions in the first phase, I think less about what their deficiencies may or not be as individuals, and I wonder if success in our first phase in our buildup has to rely on Wataru Endo or McAllister performing some incredible Modric, Kroos-esque absorbing of pressure sort of Cruyff turn to break the lines, then I think that says more about our systematic deficiencies than it says about individuals. McAllister is brilliant technically, very press resistant usually, but I think we are placing whoever is in the six, whatever their skill set may or may not be, I think we're placing them with a seemingly impossible task at times, and I forgive them, I think, for trying something, a Cruyff turn or spinning the player that's pressing them. I think I forgive them for turning the ball over in that situation, because you can only pass backwards or sideways so much. Because if that's our primary way of breaking the first line, then that's just not quite good enough from a first phase.
But see, the thing is, and I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying, but it goes back to what I was saying in terms of all of those players, Keith, that you've mentioned are new. All of those players haven't had any chance to know what works in the formation because they're used to playing that way for their relative previous clubs. McAllister would be doing that at Brighton. Gravenberch has been doing that for Ajax, obviously not so much thing. And Szoboszlai is a power runner, a runner of the ball. So the profiles between all of them are different and varying. But the key common denominator is first season syndrome, not syndrome, but first season. They don't know, or they've been given obviously instructions, but it takes time to bed in. And that's why the fall off has taken place, amongst other things, of course, that we can touch upon. And the point I was going to try and make, Cav was talking about, it's gone. But this is the kind of thing. It's been a change of style, a change of tactic, with new players being brought in, and even Endo as well. So there's been a mixture. Oh, sorry. The point Cav was talking about, and this is crucial, guys, I think, anyway. Tell me what you guys think. Trent was talking about that on the overlap in terms of we're being asked to be brave. We're being asked to play in this certain way, right? But with new players, no one knows. So we know we lost the ball there. Gini would be automatically eyes closed, already there. Same thing on the other side. If Trent was brave and lost the ball, he knows he can be brave because Henderson is already there or Fabinho is already there. We haven't got that functionality down to a T yet. And that's why as disappointed, as frustrated, as fucked off we are with the last 4 or 5 weeks, like Evan says, ultimately, I do kind of forgive them for it because they are continuing to apply their trade the way they know. All of those individuals, Keith, the attributes that you mentioned of this, they have done that. I wanted to ask someone, and I can't remember. I'm so sorry I can't give you credit because I've forgotten who it was. Someone asked, guys, they said, since the return of Trent, McAllister's influence seems to have waned. Is there any correlation?
Oh, absolutely, because you want to put the ball in the possession of your generational playmaker. That is objectively the right thing to do. McAllister, of course, is a playmaker in his own right and should demand that similar sort of respect. But regardless of the specifics of the first phase build-up or your tactical plan, Trent should be touching the ball a lot. Kevin De Bruyne touches the ball a lot. Every single season, Trent and Kevin De Bruyne are top 5 in terms of possession lost, which makes it a useless statistic because as the playmakers, as the generational playmakers, they have to try things that others wouldn't. They have to be direct when others would be safe. That's fine. That is okay. We want Trent trying things that other people shouldn't. That's okay. It's just it begs the bigger question: is Trent being placed in as good of a position as Kevin De Bruyne to do that action? So when Trent comes back into the fold, it's natural that McAllister plays in a different role. He doesn't have to drop deep as often. He gets to be more of the advanced number 8, crashing the box like we saw against West Ham yesterday. It's just sort of all about balance and consistency. Can you find a way to get Trent Alexander-Arnold in effective positions while McAllister's in effective positions, while your first phase of buildup is not compromised? There are so many things that are in play here. Since we've started this conversation on buildup and tactics and the individuals that contribute or do not contribute to it, I have not heard a single thing from the three of you that I disagree with. Everybody is, I think, correct. I do think it's a combination of injuries, it's a combination of new players, fresh blood, lack of tactical familiarity. Some of the tactics have gone stale. Some of the players should be here when they're not there. All of you have made fantastic points, and I think the uncomfortable reality is that many things here are true at once. As comfortable as it would be to think that our individuals are just not right for this, we sell people, we move on, we get new players in the summer, and it's all fixed. Or we bring in Arne Slot, new tactics, it's all fixed. We just do this one thing and it's all fixed. That would be a lovely reality to live in. But that's not the reality. The reality is that all of us have said things that at a certain point in this season have been true. All of us have said things that in the 90 minutes against West Ham have been true about our identity and our buildup, what we're wasteful in, what we need to improve on. So it would be comforting to have a single scapegoat, a single reason. And sometimes, that's just not the reality of football. Many things are true at once. And I think that we need to make peace with that to a certain extent.
Many things can be true at once. And we've just given a 20-minute breakdown of all the tactics and formulas and the structures. But Guna66 Scorpio says the main point is you bowled it. After all of that explanation, a rival fan comes in, an Arsenal fan. The irony. An Arsenal fan who has won fuck all. Let me remind you guys. Okay, you won a FA Cup a few years ago. You've won fuck all in the grand scheme of things. Coming on a Liverpool channel saying we've bowled it when we've won 9 trophies in the last 8 years, I believe, or 9 years. Win a trophy, kiddo. Then talk. Win something, then talk. Cav, was anything before we move on? Because we must address, everyone's saying we must address the elephant in the room. And we will with next topic. But was there anything that you wanted, because you started it? You want to end it?
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. It was a great super chat. Look,
No,
you put in super chats.
Great conversation. Great conversation.
Great conversation.
I just want to, because Conroy's not here, and I bet he is. Whatever he's doing, I'm sure it's much more important. But he would have loved to have been here to give Robbo his flowers for finally scoring a goal. So fair play to Andy.
Well, listen, we've missed chance after chance. Our forwards have still not scored because I'll go on to the second goal. Chance after chance, and I don't know when was the last time one of our forwards scored a legitimate goal or non-penalty goal. Can anyone remember? What a quiz question, eh? Look at the fucking state of us. We're actually trying to remember when the last time our forward scored a goal, which was non-penalty.
Yes, he seems to.
Jota!
Through on goal. Maybe
Amazing.
not even really a high XG chance, and he
Do you know what
buries
I mean? But look, talking about not high XG chances and not high expected goals getters, Robertson was probably, after Gomez, one of the lowest ones. But Robertson gets the equalizer, and then how Gakpo's taking that goal. But fair play to him. Gakpo's congratulations to Cody Gakpo and family, of course. Became a father recently. He takes what he can get. I think he took about 17 deflections. We take that 2-1. We go, and then we go and concede. I don't really want to talk about it. I don't really want none of your opinions on that, to be honest with you.
We've already talked about it. Just
because
the
it's just
manner
a
in which it happens. Yeah,
it's just a microcosm of the goal. Microcosm.
One of the many cosms. There are so many.
Many cosms of the season. But what we haven't seen in many a season, and what's not identity, is public spats, especially on live television, and that's what we got. It was my ultimate evaluation of it. The final thought I've come to bringing to you guys is for me, it was sad. It was sad to see Jurgen Klopp. It was like that, and it was sad to see Mohamed Salah react like that, and it was just sad. Who wants to go first? I don't know what angle to take from it. Like, I don't want to ask and be sensationalist and say who's at fault. It's just not Liverpool, lads. It's just not.
You can count on one hand how many of these spats there have been. There was one where Mane, in the COVID season, doesn't shake Klopp's hand after the game. There's one with Henderson. There's one with Milner. I can't remember more than 5, in 9 years of Klopp. So it is rare. It's not the Liverpool way. It's really only a headline because Salah's in bad form, didn't start the game. Klopp's leaving in 180 minutes of football from now. That's really the only reason. It's like Klopp said, they talked about it, and they hashed it out in the dressing room. It's over. And I would love to say something more interesting here, Grizz. I would love to say something that riles people up or prompts some conversation, but there's really just nothing else to it. This is what happens when you're playing this high stakes, high emotional game. You know what I mean? And how many of us running a football club can really only say they had 5 public touchline spats with players in 9 years? If it was me, it would be triple that, because I'm not as emotionally mature as Jurgen Klopp. So there you go. There's really just nothing really else to make of it that somebody hasn't already said a million times already.
Before Keith and Cav go, we were talking about it on the call-in show, and someone came in and made a couple of points about the scenario, and I even though the call-in show is all about the caller's opinions and views and everything, sometimes I can't control myself. The big mouth that I am, and what I countered to some of his points was, I need to know, and you guys help me out, even though you guys are shit at quizzes because you didn't even know who scored our last non-penalty goal. But I'll try again. I asked the question: can anyone, or does anyone know of a high-profile player on the levels of Messi, Ronaldo, Salah, I don't know, Ibrahimovic, Mbappe, whoever, that has been happy being a substitute, happy being dumped, happy being brought on 12 minutes from time? Do we know of a happy substitute, a player of that caliber and level? We know, and we all agree, Mohamed Salah hasn't been playing well, has been atrocious, to be honest with you. But we also know that he's one of the greatest Premier League players of all time. You can go and argue with your nan, your fridge, your cat, your cup of tea. But that's the facts. He is one of the greatest Premier League players. So he's going to have the hump that he's a substitute. He's being asked to come on. But I think it was wrong for him to react like that. I think it should have been done in private. I don't think it should have been. That shouldn't have played out. But we will never know what was said. We will never know the exchanges. All we will know is the images. They didn't sit well with me. And I must say on both parts. Now, this may come as shock to you guys or someone in the chat. But even though I'm so far seemingly on Klopp's side, because I totally disagree with any player going up against the coach who's in charge ultimately, because it's the player that gets his head proverbially chopped. You know, he will get the sack or he will leave or resign. And players get a chance to prove themselves wrong. But I think on both parts, they are legends and icons and ultimate heroes of mine for the last 8-9 years. I will never, ever have that image ruin any of their legacies at my football club. They gave me the best memories as an LFC fan forever and ever and ever. I was just sad, guys. I was just sad to see that play out. But I honestly think we can't let that ruin the overall legacy of those two men.
Yeah, we shouldn't. I think it's one of those things you just say, look, in the heat of the moment, I think both would accept responsibility on their part for what played out, and you move on as they both have done. And I think the sort of comment that Salah made as he was walking past the journalist was more towards when he said, "If I speak, there'll be fire," was more towards, I can't speak because you'll make a story. You know, you'll take it, twist it, and what have you. Yeah.
Ironically, by him even mentioning that sentence, it was on the back pages.
They're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. They're the life of a footballer. But I do think if I know this conversation's kind of blown out of proportion a lot bit, and fans are emotional right now and they want to discuss it. I think the truth of the matter is both Klopp and Salah owe everything to each other for their legacies and what they have achieved. You know, without one another, they both wouldn't have achieved what they have. That much is true. So at the end of the day, you know, I actually think the end is near for both of them, not just Jurgen Klopp. And I think when that happens, there will be a smile and a grace, and they will both accept, God, we did amazing things because of each other, you know. And I suppose the frustration on Salah's part for a lot of fans, particularly, is what we mentioned earlier. Is just it comes at a point, like Evan said, where it's bad form, and that's where it gets frustrating. You know, if he was playing really well and he was left on the bench just rested and he's frustrated to come on, you'd side with him. You'd go, yeah, you're dead right. You shouldn't have been on the bench. You have every right to be frustrated. You're banging form, but he's not. So you write these things off and you move on. But it is sad. And I'm pretty sure any logical fan will know not to let this sort of tarnish their legacies. That would be a crazy thing to do. But we don't do send-offs particularly well. No, Firmino, Henderson, Mane, and now Klopp. They didn't get the send-offs they deserved.
This is another question I wanted to ask, guys. Can we ever remember the last great send-off? Can we remember any one of our heroes, icons, legends that have got a great send-off? I'm struggling, man. Like for a fairy tale club and an emotional club and an emotional coach and set of fans, everything. My God, we've been on the rough end of some.
You know who got a great send off is all those sort of fringe squad players who had big moments in Istanbul. You know, Vladimir Smitser, what a send off. You know what I mean? Didi Hamann, what a send off. You know, guys who, you know, we're not legends of the club during their time here, but you know, were eulogized and great. You know, Bobby had, you know, a nice one there. Debak, of course.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby had a good one, but the season wasn't great.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. So, You know, I
Shaqiri?
always found that funny. You know,
Who?
Barosh.
Shaqiri,
Yes, sir.
no, we won the league and then he left the next season. It's not a bad send off.
He played his part as well. He played his part in that title winning season.
Hardly a club legend in
Yeah.
that respect. But I think that's the story of Liverpool Football Club. The fairy tales is in the moment, but the ending is always the ending of the chapters always leaves it open for a sequel.
Mm.
And that's
But I mean,
Liverpool
in this
Football
case,
Club.
Keith, I'm like Cav in terms of ultimately in a couple of weeks, my worst case scenario, guys, and look, it's only fair that we put out the worst case scenario and the best case scenario, right? And I'm just talking about these two guys. There needs to be a show of emotion from both of them, an embrace because I agree they're both very likely. No, we know Klopp's on his way out. I think Mohamed Salah is on his way out as well. There needs to be a public embrace, a very emotional public embrace. Otherwise, I'm gonna cry, guys. Otherwise, I'm gonna cry.
On air.
But the thing is, as well, when you
Everywhere.
look at it, like again, are we kind of like when we think about the send off, when we think about the last game against Wolves, which we'll probably lose because that's again how we say goodbye to our famous guys. But you know, ultimately, you know, Klopp didn't get the fairy tale ending, but he didn't at the same time when this season's said and done, it's not the kind of ending that we've had from previous Liverpool managers, right? Most of the time when a Liverpool manager has left or been sacked, we're usually outside the top four with a depleted squad looking like, you know, what's to come next. You know, when Brendan Rodgers was sacked, you know, we were in an awful position. When Roy Hodgson was sacked, the same thing. When Kenny went, it was the same thing. You know, arguably, you know, stripping back the ultimate fairy tale, Jurgen Klopp does walk away ultimately in the best way that he could possibly do, right? As an elite coach of a football team in the top five, win a trophy, secure Champions
Top
League
three.
football for next season, top three, end in the top three, and away you go. If Slot had that in his first season in charge, we would call it, you know, a great season. So I think Klopp and I think Mo Salah, for their credit, will still get, and it's a nicer ending than what happened to Steven Gerrard. Let me tell you that.
Fair play to Klopp as well. Gets a trophy, and the man is so selfless. He just screwed up the rest of the season so that we didn't sit here thinking, "Oh my God, what are we gonna do?" We sit here going, "You know what? I might not mind the change so much." That is how selfless.
That is some 7D chess this brother has played. But guys, look, forgive us for not overplaying or over chatting about the Salah incident, because that's the kind of channel and content we like to provide, and that's the way it is. If you guys have enjoyed it, please like and subscribe for some more. We addressed it, we spoke about it, but I think we gave our honest feelings and emotions about the situation. It was sad to see. We can't start blaming without knowing the finer details. All we can discuss and speak on is what we saw visually. And visually, it was sad. When you're seeing your two elder brothers or uncles or, you know, fighting and arguing like that, it's a tinge of sadness. And that's how I felt. This has been Redfellas. Hope you guys have enjoyed it tonight. Thank you, Keith, Cav, and Evan. Unfortunately, Conroy couldn't be with us. Otherwise, we would have slaughtered him for the performance of the referee as well. But we may remember that. Remind us next time to get his opinion on that. Guys, we'll be back during the week for some more content. And we will start slowly introducing our new manager to you, tactics-wise, formations-wise. Who stays, who goes. We will have all these conversations. Don't you worry. Don't go anywhere. Take care. Bye-bye.